All right, if you're deep into civil engineering studies, you know compass surveying is one of those topics you just have to nail. It's a big one. So in this explainer, we're going to break it all down. We'll cover everything you need, from the absolute basics, like the framework of a traverse, all the way to the two crucial systems of bearing that you'll actually use out there.
So here's the game plan. We're going to build this up piece by piece. First, we'll get into the why of it all. Why was compass surveying such a huge deal compared to what came before? Then we'll jump into the how, the nitty-gritty of traversing. After that, we need a starting point, right? So we'll talk about meridians. Then we'll learn how to actually describe direction using bearings. And to wrap it all up, we'll master the two main systems you'll use to write everything down. Sound good? Let's dive in.
Okay, first things first. What even is compass surveying? Well, at its core, it was a massive evolution in how we map the world. Think about it. It's the shift from just measuring straight lines, like with a tape measure, to understanding and using the power of angles. That's the secret sauce right there.
And this right here, this table shows you just how big a deal it was. Before this, you had chain surveying, which was, well, pretty limited. It could only measure straight lines. That's it. So it really only worked for small, flat, simple areas. But the moment you add angles into the mix, bam! Compass surveying opens up a whole new universe. Suddenly, you can map huge, complicated areas, even with hills and valleys, and do it way more accurately. It was a complete game changer.
So, how do we build this new, more powerful framework? Well, we use a process called traversing. I want you to think of it like building the skeleton for your map. It's the absolute foundational structure, and every other detail, every little feature gets built on top of this skeleton. Let's take a look at how it all comes together.
So the big idea here is that traversing is really the engine of compass surveying. It's this methodical, step-by-step process. You go from one point to another, and at each step you measure two things: the length of the line connecting them and its direction. You just keep doing that over and over, and what you're building is this super precise network, kind of like a digital skeleton of the actual land.
Okay, now this is a really important concept, especially for exams. You've got two main flavors of traverse, closed and open. A closed traverse is the gold standard for accuracy. Think of it like running a lap on a track. You start and finish at the exact same spot. And if you don't, well, you know you messed up somewhere along the way. That's the beauty of it. It's self-checking. You can find your errors and fix them. An open traverse, on the other hand, is like a one-way road trip. You start at a known place, but end somewhere new. It's great for things like roads or railways, but you lose that built-in error check, which can be a problem.
All right, we've been throwing around this idea of measuring angles a lot. But an angle measured from what? You need a starting line, a 0 point, right? In surveying, we call that reference line a meridian. And trust me, it is the absolute foundation for everything we do with direction.
Yep, think of the meridian as your baseline, your North Star for the entire project. But here's where it gets interesting. It turns out there's more than one north, and picking the right one for your job is totally critical if you want your survey to be accurate and make any sense.
So, in the world of surveying, we've got four main types of meridians we work with. Each one has a very specific job and is used in different situations. Let's break them down one by one.
Pay close attention here, because this is a classic exam question. True meridian versus magnetic meridian. The true meridian is your true north. It points to the geographic North Pole, the spot the Earth literally spins around. It is fixed. It does not move. The magnetic meridian, though, is what your compass points to, and it points to the magnetic North Pole, which is constantly wandering around. So what's the big takeaway? A measurement based on magnetic north isn't permanent. It actually changes over time.
So how do you keep surveys consistent across a huge area, like an entire country? You can't have everyone using slightly different reference points. The solution is a grid meridian. What you do is, you basically pick one true meridian somewhere in the middle of the area and declare it the standard. Then you just pretend that all the other north-south lines on the map are perfectly parallel to that one. It's a clever way to create a consistent grid system and sidestep all the crazy math you'd need to do to account for the Earth's curve.
And then there's the arbitrary meridian.
This is your practical, get-the-job-done option for smaller surveys. You just pick something convenient. Seriously. It could be the line pointing to a church steeple or a big water tower in the distance. You just say, okay, that's my reference for this project, and base all your angles on it. It's perfect when you don't need to tie into a larger global system.
Okay, so we've got our reference line, our meridian. We know what north we're using. Now, what's the name for the actual angle we measure from that line? Well, that's called a bearing. And bearings are the fundamental language of direction in all of surveying.
So yeah, that's the textbook definition. But let's keep it simple. A bearing is just a number, an angle, that tells you precisely which way a line is pointing relative to your chosen meridian. That's it. It's the key piece of information that transforms a bunch of dots on a page into an actual useful map.
And this part is super logical. It just clicks. For every type of meridian we just talked about, there's a matching type of bearing. It's a perfect one-to-one relationship. Use a true meridian, you get a true bearing. Use a magnetic meridian, you get a magnetic bearing. Simple as that.
Okay, let's get down to brass tacks. This is the stuff that can really trip you up on an exam, so listen closely. You're out in the field. You've measured your angle. Now what? How do you write it down? Well, there are two main systems for doing this, and you absolutely have to know the difference between them. Let's break down this table because it's super important. First up, we have the whole circle bearing system, or WCB. It's simple and consistent. The rules are you always start from north and you always measure in a clockwise direction. That's it. So your angle can be anything from 0 all the way around to 360 degrees. Now, on the other side, you have the quadrantal bearing system, or QB. This one's a little different. Here, you start from either north or south. You pick whichever one is closer. Then you measure the angle towards the east or west. And because you're always starting from the closest pole, the angle itself will never be more than 90 degrees.
Here's your cheat sheet for writing a quadrantal bearing correctly every time. It's just 3 simple steps. 1. You start by writing down N or S, depending on which pole is closer. 2. You write down the angle, which again will always be less than 90 degrees. And 3. You finish with an E or a W to show which quadrant you're in. It's kind of like giving someone directions, right? Go south, then turn 30 degrees to the west. If you follow these 3 steps, you literally can't get it wrong.
And this quote right here, this is the golden rule. I really want this to sink in. Look at that key phrase, whichever is closer. That's it. That's the entire secret to the quadrantal bearing system. It's all about efficiency. What's the shortest turn I can make from the main north-south line to get to my survey line? That's the whole idea.
Okay, time for a pop quiz. Let's see if you've got this. Imagine you're out there, you take a measurement, and it reads 275 degrees. So my question to you is, how would you write that down in both whole circle bearing and quadrantal bearing? Go ahead, pause this, and actually try to work it out. Seriously, being able to do this conversion is a skill you are going to use all the time. Nail this, and you're well on your way.